So I just reached a pretty interesting passage in this book, which is a passage on group psychology, and Freud basically breaks down what holds groups together. So there's two things that hold a group together. One is the leader, and two is this natural occurrence that happens without our knowledge of it happening, which is the love of our fellow group members. So if you think about religion, love thy brother. There's this underlying tone of love that's happening in every group, even in football supporters. They love each other. They love the fact that they love the group that they're part of. It's a pretty interesting phenomenon to see. People really do bind together and stick together in a group. And the passage that I went through just now, and I'm going to go through with you, is pretty interesting. It basically it explains exactly what's going on in the past until now, and how there's been a flip from religion leading the state, which in Europe was Christianity, to now we can see that religion really isn't at the fore leading the state anymore. It's something else that has occurred. And Freud covers it in this book that was written in, well, it's a compilation of his work. So this has been over 100 years plus ago. And he literally hit the nail on the head. So this is the passage. But even during the kingdom of Christ, those people who do not belong to the community of believers, who do not love him and whom he does not love, stand outside this tie. Therefore, a religion, even if it calls itself the religion of love, must be hard and unloving to those who do not belong to it. Fundamentally, indeed, every religion is in the same way a religion of love for all those whom it embraces, while cruelty and intolerance towards those who do not belong to it are natural to every religion. However difficult we may find it personally, we ought not to reproach believers too severely on this account. People who are unbelieving or indifferent are much better off psychologically in this matter of cruelty and intolerance. If today that intolerance no longer shows itself so violent and cruel as in former centuries, we can scarcely conclude that there has been a softening in human manners. The cause is rather to be found in the undeniable weakening of religious feelings and the libidinal ties which depend upon them. If another group tie takes the place of the religious one, and the socialistic tie seems to be succeeding in doing so, then there will be the same intolerance towards outsiders as in the age of the wars of religion. And if differences between scientific opinions could ever attain a similar significance for groups, the same result would again be repeated with this new motivation. Now, I think it's obvious what he says here, and it's pretty interesting because if you pay attention to what happened before and to what's happening now, there's a lot of similarities. Now, if you think about it back in the day, anyone who opposed the church and said something that went against their common knowledge or what they were preaching was a heretic, and got burnt at the stake, literally. So that just goes to show that everyone who spoke out against the religion was a hater, and everyone who did speak out against the religion and that was in the religious group was loved. Now we can see the same thing happening with this progressive groupthink, this mentality that everyone's running around where they're not even questioning the information that's being given to them. They're just taking it in because they're part of that group. And if someone who's at the head of that group is giving them this information and it's in the media everywhere you look, they're just going to swallow it. And if you happen to question their groupthink or ask them where they adopted these beliefs or other things like that, they hate on you severely. And we can also see that today there's less and less religious people, and there's more agnostic people that just believe in a higher power, but not to a specific religious group. And the rise of atheism is also happening. So, I mean, groups are created and they disintegrate. And at the moment, there's a group that's being created, and we got to pay attention to it because it can be quite dangerous, especially as we're living in this Orwellian state. Slowly but surely, we're building up to what he wrote in his book 1984, and then the other book by Aldous Huxley, A Brave New World. If you read those books, you can see the same types of groups are being formed today. And the breakdown of religion is also happening. I'm not saying be religious, I'm just saying pay attention to this stuff because it's quite powerful and dangerous if you happen to know how to sway a group. And you know a lot about psychology, like this fella right here. If you're in the right position of power to play the role of the leader and throw symbols at people that can trigger some powerful emotions, you can do a lot. So yeah, let's try and pay attention to that. What do you think?